Good morning everyone. Hope you all are well and safe. So today we will start our third poetry, that is a tiger in the zoo. Okay. So firstly I will summarize it, and after it then I will continue the line wise explanation of the poem. Okay. So listen it carefully. The poem A Tiger in the Zoo has been composed by Leslie Norris. In this poem, the poet contrasts a tiger in the zoo to those living in his natural habitat. The poet starts the description from the zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. There is a great difference between the condition when he is in the jungle and when he is in the zoo. In the natural surroundings he is happy. Who is happy? Tiger is happy. But in the cage he is restless and furious. The poet says that in the cage the tiger walks in full range over the patch of velvet, but when the tiger is in his natural place, he lurks in shadow. He slips through the long grass near the source of water to catch the deer in the jungle. He terrorizes the villagers with his bare teeth, but in the prison he moves in rage. Now I am going to explain the same poetry in brief. Okay. The poem begins with a description of a tiger that is very beautiful and is walking in his little cage. He has beautiful strips on his skin and has velvet like soft paws. But the tiger is not happy and is quite angry about being confined in the cage. The poet says that if the tiger was not confined to the zoo cage, he would have been hiding himself behind the long grass near some water body in order to catch its prey, that is the deer. Also, he would have terrorized the residents of the villages around the forest area, but the reality is totally opposite to this. He was confined in a cage which was made up of strong building material, and he was helpless there. Who was helpless there? Tiger was helpless there. He couldn't show his power to the visitors, therefore never tried to terrorize them. The tiger is described as being powerless and agonized by the poet. He says that during night also he is alone. Who is alone? Tiger is alone, hearing the voice of the patrolling vehicles of police and looking at the stars. The cage life has totally changed the tiger's personality. The poet is trying to say that the animal, which is famous for its fearlessness and freedom, is confined and sad due to the human beings who want to derive pleasure by looking at him in the zoo cage. Now come to the line wise explanation of the chapter. He stalks in his vivid strides the few steps of his cage on paths of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Stalks means follow, vivid bright colored, paths paws of tiger, and rage means anger. Here poet says that the tiger that is confined in the zoo moves around in the cage under his bright colored skin. He further says that tiger can take only few steps because the cage is small and it is not easy to move in it. One cannot hear footsteps because he has very soft feet like velvet, because of which there is no sound of the tiger's footsteps. The tiger tries to control his anger by quietly walking in the limited area of his cage. He is angry because he is not free. Who is angry? Tiger is angry. He should be lurking in the shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. Lurking means to be hidden as to wait for your prey. Here the poet says that if this tiger was free, he would have hid himself behind the long grass near the water bodies so that he could easily catch a deer in order to have it as its food. Basically the poet wants to say that the actual life of tiger is to live in the jungle where he could catch his prey and eat it, but the tiger in the cage cannot do so. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, bearing his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Snarling means warning sounds made by animals, bearing uncovered fangs, sharp tooth of animals. Here the poet says that if the tiger would have been free, he would have snarled around the houses located at the outskirts of the forest. He would terrorize people with his sharp tooth and claws. This would create fear among the people who lives in the villages. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Concrete means building made of bricks, cement, sand and water. Now the poet comes to the reality of what? Now the poet comes to the reality of the tiger that is inside the cage. He says, now the poet comes to the reality of the tiger that inside the cage. He says that the tiger is confined in a strong cell which is made of strong building material. He further says that as the tiger is behind bars, so his furiousness is also behind the bars. He just talks in the cage. He never tries to terrorize the visitors because his power is restricted by the cage. Whose power is restricted? Tiger's power is restricted by the cage. Therefore, he never tries to terrorize the visitors as he cannot attack them. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Patrolling means to guard. Okay. Here, the poet says that in the night, the tiger hears the sounds of what? The sounds of patrolling cars. Patrolling cars are the vehicles of police which are used to guard at night. So, in the night, the tiger hears the sounds of these cars. He then stares at the shining stars with his shining eyes. The poet wants to say that the tiger is sad, and as he is confined in that cave, so he cannot do anything. Therefore, he stares at the stars in the night and tries to divert his thoughts towards them. Like this, we have completed this poem, and after it, we will start our next chapter, that is Long Walk to Freedom, Nelson Mandela. Okay? Till then, read the poem and do the exercises at your homework and find out the hard words and write the meaning of them. Okay? Till then, stay home, stay safe and keep learning.